come for a chat today, my Tuesday Terry morning. This is Terry Herrington. He's taught me piano and he's also still a mentor and an inspiration to me. And when I come for these little catch-ups with him, I just think we should record them. I think we should share them with the world because he's such a positive outlook. Now we're going to start at the very beginning when a piano turned up at his house via horse and cart. Tell us the tale.
Well, my dad was a singer in clubs at that time, just after the war. It was 1944, 5, 6, sort of that area. And he came across a piano that were up for sale in an auction in a club in Jump near Woolmo. So he bid for it, and he won it. But he didn't say anything to us back home. And all of a sudden, one day, we knock on the door. My mother opened it, and there's a horse and cart there with a piano on it, with 4 fellas on it with it that had walked all the way from Jump to Romarsh with this piano to bring it to our house, because he must have my dad probably paid him to do that. So I had got 3 younger brothers at the time. I was the oldest of 4.
Right.
And I was asthmatic as a kid due to a lot of the pollution around in them days, were quite bad. So I used to there was no kind of age for it in them years, no ventilating or anything like that. So we had to suffer with it. There's lots of stories about that, but I'll not tell it now. But anyway, my father said, anybody want to learn piano? Well, my other 3 brothers all they wanted to do was play football and cricket in the park quite near.
Yeah, and your father were a big brass player.
He was a big
he?
brass band man. He was champion of all England Euphonia when he was 20 years old.
Amazing.
He was a good lad.
Yeah.
He asked me when I was younger, he wanted to play trumpet to improve my lungs.
Yeah.
Which I learned to play, but I couldn't sustain long notes, you see. So anyway, the piano turned up.
Yeah.
And he said, who wants to learn? I said, well, because I can't go out as much as my brothers, I'll have a go at it. So he sent us to this friend of his we knew called Marceline Colclough. And she lived in top of Goosebrook Street, I think in Park Gate. And so me and my mother turned up at this house, which we couldn't understand why, because they're all little terrace houses all the way up, and all of a sudden we come across this big house surrounded by a big wall. Went through the gate into the garden, a beautiful garden, never seen anything like that before. Up the steps into the house, guarded by 2 lions, pressed the doorbell, like walking into a palace, wasn't it? Yeah. The maid came to the door. So, yes, I'm weary for listening. Come in, will you please wait in the hall, there's seats here. So they like seats in the hall, we sit in the hall. So me and my mother sat there, you know. And all of a sudden a little bell tinkles. So the maid comes, Miss Colcroft's ready for you now. So I went into this big room, and there's a grand piano there in the window, and she sat there on the piano, about 4'8". She's like a little china doll, all made beautiful lady. And anyway, she said, do you want to learn the piano? I said, yes, I would love to do that. She said, right, let's make a start here. So she got me through all the basic kind of areas, you know, like that. And I started to develop. And she really pushed me hard, really pushed me hard. But what I'm telling you, Marceline used to play for the silent movies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the local cinema called the Electra in Park Gate. That's a long time ago. So she had a lot of other arrows to her, but she was very, very good at improvising things because she used to have to do it.
Yeah.
You used to look at a movie and see if it was sad scene, sad music, chase scene, chase music, all that kind of stuff. Just do that live. And just do it, just looking at the screen. So you learn to do these things and I used to like to do that.
Did you do that?
Well, she showed us, do this, that's a fast piece, let's start a fast piece working and all that, but now you're chasing the robbers and all that kind of stuff in your head.
A dream gig.
Yeah. Now the villains come, what do we do for that?
Minor.
And diminished.
Oh, diminished, of course.
Diminished. And they create that tension in the scene, you see what I mean? Then the love scene, nice romantic kind of music.
Yeah.
And all that, you learn to do that, you know. So she took me through the grades up to grade 5. And then she said, I can't teach you any further, Terry. I'm going to pass you on to another teacher in Rotherham. So I was upset, you know, because I had to go away to Rotherham on bus and all this. And they called her Bessie Sharp. Now, Bessie Sharp, her real name was Bessie Cowley, but she had a name what she used when she was performing. She was an accompanist.
Right.
And she used to perform with singers at local people in the theatres and so on. So that's what her name was. She was played piano. So Bessie took me up to the grade 8 area.
Yep.
And beyond up to my diploma area.
Fantastic.
But she was a tyrant as a teacher. And she used to insist on everything being exactly as it was. A demi-semiquaver was a demi-semiquaver, and that's that. You know what I mean? So she was just standing at the side of the piano beating the time out on the side of the piano like that, whatever it was, and it had to be adhered to. So she really pushed you hard, you know, like that. By that time, I'd more or less grown out of me. I'm now 18, right? But my asthma wasn't so bad.
Right.
But in them days, we had to go into national service. I thought, well, they'll not take me because of my chest. But I went, they did, right? And then they found out when I went to watch your hobbies and all that. I said, well, I play piano, I said, up to, all right. And eventually they give you a chit to go to a place called Uxbridge. You've never heard of it in your life before. So eventually gets there, and it was the headquarters of the band of the Royal Air Force. So what am I doing? I can't play the trumpet very well. Can't be playing that here. He said, oh no, you're here because you play piano and you're here to play in the officers' mess for functions. Right?
Good
Said,
gig.
Yeah, it was a good gig. But never used to give me the bloody food that we're eating, you know what I mean? But they also taught me to play clarinet.
All right.
You know, and because they got to have an instrument to walk with if I'm in the band.
Right.
So you had to do that. So they taught me to play clarinet. So I played third clarinet, which wasn't too bad because you just sat at the back with you know that in the market, and went so not too complex. But that's how that. But the bandmaster at the time, he said to me one day, Herrington, he says, I think you could do arranging, you know. I said, oh, do you really think so? He says, yes, I think you could.
And was that your first introduction into...
Not off.
Wow, we're going to continue with that next week.
Okay.
But isn't that brilliant how Terry's asthma just... It took away a different world. The brass, he could have easily gone down the brass road, but he found his niche from what might have been a disadvantage. But you don't know at the time, do you? So whatever you're going through, if you think it's a disadvantage at the time, just look at the bigger picture and it just might lead you down a road that you might never have gone down. Well, thank you for that, Terry. That's
Nice to see you, Catherine.
another inspiration.
Welcome.
See you next week.